Good morning. How are you today? Well, it's Saturday, and we're getting ready to drive back to the Commonwealth of Virginia. And it's just glorious here, so the riding will be great, but I resent losing this wonderful day that we could be hanging out in the sunlight. The headline today is obviously 9/11. It was an amazing experience to be working on the Hill when it happened. I left off my daughter in Northwest Washington at a school, and as I came around the Lincoln Memorial, what did I see but this huge cloud, like an atomic cloud of dust, and it appeared to be over on the Virginia side of the Potomac River. And I didn't know what it could possibly be, but I called my office, and normally a congressional office has TVs on in every room, but this day nobody had turned on anything. And I asked, had something happened? Had there been some explosion in Virginia? It was, of course, the attack on the Pentagon on 9/11. And within moments, everybody had turned on the TVs and found out that New York had already been attacked, and that's what was happening. I'm not sure at that time anybody knew about the planes coming that might be coming to D.C., to the Capitol or the White House. But that was derailed by the people in the plane. There are a lot of comments one can make about this terrible day. It's something we should have known was coming, and that we should not have been innocent about. And there were leads that it was coming that were ignored. And I can't help but shake from my mind the image of Bush reading to elementary school kids and somebody whispering to him of this terrible, terrible event, and him just sitting there paralyzed, immobile. I think my favorite word has become for leaders who fail to act, inert. And he went to ground like a fox. Cheney convinced him to run and hide. When a president should have been visible in some way or other, he was not. And Cheney then ran the operation. And maybe when I'm driving later today, I'll share some longer observations about this. But I thought the greatest failure in this crisis was, again, our elected officials. The members of Congress stayed away. When I went to my office, I was then chief of staff to a congresswoman. My staff said, they tell us to evacuate, what should we do? And I looked at them with eyes as big as saucers, and I knew that there was only one answer, and that is that they should leave. And then I went to my office. And they said, why did you go to your office? Aren't you leaving? And I said, no. I said, the terrorists have already won. Everybody is running and hiding. Running from their buildings. There are pictures of it. The world is seeing America act in a cowardly fashion. Running and hiding. It's just not good. And so I stayed there, and I told them, you're probably going to be frozen and unable to go anywhere outside. So, but do what you want. If I were you, and I was going to leave the Capitol, I would go to this place and get a margarita, which is only a couple of blocks from where our offices were in the Cannon House office building. But the more I think about it, the more I think I'll have to make further longer remarks about this. America has had domestic terrorism in the past. McVeigh is what I think of. This was foreign terrorism, but it was a reprisal for the perception of our public policy toward the Middle East. And Bush Sr. had already had adventures in the Middle East, so we weren't exactly blameless. But what we learned is all of a sudden that ocean is not a barrier to being attacked. And we didn't learn things about how to handle the remedies to avoid this in the future. And so we passed the Patriot Act, so-called, which was really a suppression of individual rights and liberties foisted upon the Congress by the Bush administration, taking advantage of a crisis. And another taking of advantage was that we went into Iraq to, I guess, settle old scores with the Bush family because of threats against him. Such is our American foreign policy. So I think I will make a further note while I'm driving along back to Virginia. But that's my short take of 9/11. My heart goes out to the survivors, the people who watched their loved ones suffer and die because they fought and worked so hard to save people in New York when 9/11 happened and the Twin Towers came down. I had been in New York a week or so earlier, and in my morning run, I ran through the plaza separating the Twin Towers. So it was close in my memory what those events were about. But like a lot of the most important decisions we make in America, we don't anticipate, we don't prepare, and we're caught flat-footed. And in the case of Bush Jr. W., afraid. A real leader seizes the reins, not because they're so brave or stupid, but because that's the only thing they can do, and that's the obligation they signed on to perform should some terror like this happen. And our leadership was adrift. You want to compare it to real leaders, compare it to FDR or TR to choose a Republican. The force of personality, of action in moments of crisis is the standard by which we know we have a serious leader and historic figure. And it was a sad day, not only for the attack, but for the reaction of the higher-ups. The people were amazing. Again, we the people saving America. The notion of how to handle the virus is under siege again in Florida. Now a judge has upheld Governor DeSantis, the madman, who has a mandate against masks. Will we ever learn? In Tennessee, a young man was at a school board meeting, and he was talking about how upset he was that his grandmother had died, and they jeered him. And as for masks, one woman apparently said, "Let our kids smile." Well, you can smile under a mask, and you can do it a lot longer if you're not infected. I don't know about you, but in those incidents where you're caught with your mask off with someone and you don't know whether or not they're vaccinated, and you don't know if they have a breakthrough infection, these are perilous times. And there's something about a large portion of America that doesn't get the invisible threat, doesn't understand what it is, and takes no precautions against it. This despite the fact that there's a poll that says 63% of Americans support vaccination, support wearing masks. And it's a higher percentage among Democrats. Are Democrats smarter? Are they more pliable? I don't think so. I think it's about science and thinking. And it says something terrible about a party that is so against all the reforms that would help education and our people know more, do more, have more possibilities. Sure, college isn't for everyone. My brother didn't go to college. He was kind of a self-learner. He was very smart. And he did IT. And, I always thought he should go on to college and stuff like that. Well, a lot of people, they think these things as well, and they find out what's best for them. So America is reminded by this day what it must do to protect itself. And the next occasion that it has an opportunity to prove itself is how it handles September 18th, when the rabble return to the Capitol to protest the political prisoners who are the rioters who are in jail and being prosecuted for what they did on June the 6th. Meanwhile, all our leaders are knitting, not a single person in the White House, nobody in intelligence, nobody on the Hill has even been called to a grand jury to testify. So anyhow, those are my thoughts before we set off to Virginia. And I've been walking through the boatyard in Rockland, Maine, excuse me. See, I'm already back there, but I don't know it. So I'll talk to you sometime on Sunday. I can't be sure when, because I'll be driving today and driving tomorrow. All the best. Bye-bye.